All right, kicking off another episode of Zen and Callsigns, and my next guest is Aengus Boyle. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be
Uh,
here.
yeah, my pleasure. Well, I'll get just how we met. It was interesting because I would describe you as a marketer in some way. Would that be to one of your hats you wear? Is that would you say that's correct?
Definitely. I think so. Definitely.
Um,
Especially in my day job.
Yeah. And yeah, in the digital world. And so you had this incredible post, and I thought it was so attention grabbing. And it came across my feed. Because we hadn't met before on LinkedIn, and so I played on there for a little while. Um, and I think you should probably touch on that as well. But that was just like really well done. I feel like that's if you can the ability to harness that between creativity, imagination, and hopefully you won. I don't know if you did or not, or if that happened, but that's how we came in contact. And I think that's the good side of social media on LinkedIn. So I think we'll there's a little grabber there, but then we'll kind of circle back to that. But I'd first love you to start off with young Aengus in Ireland and kind of where you started your creative journey as a young guy, or where that was, if you kick it off.
Absolutely. Yeah. So now I am an artist is my outside of work sort of passion project and side
Yeah,
hustle. But I think very much was not what I would call artistic as a child, or didn't view myself as that way. But always had some sort of creative outlet. I was very into Irish dancing, like Michael Flatley,
yeah,
dance, that kind of thing. I thought that was
yeah.
very cool when I was like 11 or 10 or 8 or something.
So
So I was like,
would you just say you weren't painting or doing that, but you were doing other creative things?
yeah.
Yeah,
And music then became when I was like 13, 14. I started playing guitar and was in bands. And from 14 to 21 or 22, that was like very much my sort of creative outlet. Um, and then maybe, did one painting, kind of enjoyed it, didn't think about it for a few years, did another painting, enjoyed it, didn't think about it for a few years, did that for a number of years until like
yeah,
2019, I think. Then had a friend. He was like, "Oh, I'm gonna buy some canvases." Shout out Dan, my friend Dan. And I was like, "Oh, I enjoy painting. I'll do that with you." And we sort of bought canvases, did one painting thing together. That was fun. And then I was kind of like, then got a few more canvases, and then had done a few paintings that I enjoyed, and had some canvases and some paint when lockdown happened,
yeah,
all the COVID madness. And then that was when I sort of really started to, then I was sort of painting to enjoy it. I was also working on starting a side hustle thing that was much more business focused, where it was like I was writing an ebook to sell about like how to get a job that you want.
yeah,
And then in that process, I was like, oh, this is just creating more of the thing that I'm almost trying to escape in terms of what work is. So I'm like just making myself work more. And it's, if I ended up making this a full time thing, it's like not, it's just gonna be more of what I don't necessarily want to spend all my time doing. And then I was like,
Have
oh,
you
but
been doing the same type of art the whole time, kind of intuitive abstract, or is that what you refer to it as?
probably, yeah. I mean,
Okay,
abstract, definitely.
okay,
I'm very bad at giving it an artistic nomenclature, but yeah, I think that is it. Like, sort of
okay,
very unplanned abstract, and I think it's been an evolution. I've kind of played around, and like I've definitely probably gone through periods where different styles have sort of emerged and disappeared, but it's
yeah,
all under that umbrella of very colorful, bright abstract art. Yeah.
cool. What age were you there, or where were you at in the timeline?
In when I started painting, like
Yeah.
29, 30.
Okay. And then when did that kind of come self-perpetuating? Hey, I'm an artist, and so I'm going to be doing this now, like, every week, or like I'm going to be like I'm going to do it, practice it every day, or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was around then. It was like I was working on this other thing, and I was like, actually, I don't really want to do this. You can make money selling art. And that's the thing I'm doing, is like my thing to relax and to have fun, kind of. So I was like, well,
Yeah.
why not try do that thing that's my relaxation and my fun, and try to figure out how to make that a source of income.
Yeah.
And then from there, then I ended up, speaking of Gary V, whose company I work for, I basically pulled a string to get on his. He was doing this show, Tea with Gary V, during lockdown, And when I was turning 30, I was like, oh, ask this guy, any chance I could get a slot on the show and like talk? And I was initially doing that about this other business thing that I was doing. And then in
Yeah.
the week or two building up to that, I was like, actually, why am I doing this? I want to do the art thing. That's much more fun. Was going to be on that show on a Friday. This other person ended up being on there, and I can't remember, but like, let's say she went from like 200 followers on Instagram to 2,000 followers on Instagram in the space of like 20 minutes. And then I ended up being bumped from the show on that day because she went on for so long. But
Okay.
because of that, I was like, oh shit, this is like such an opportunity. I built a website for the art over the weekend, went on that show, and then sold a few paintings off the back of that. And then that was what really catapulted me into being like, oh my God, that energized me so much that then I just sort of couldn't stop painting after that.
Interesting. Okay. Do you have any artists that inspired you of your style of artwork that you'd seen before?
I think one of them, Jean-Michel Basquiat, I've got a crown tattooed on my wrist.
Yeah.
He's definitely the GOAT, in my opinion.
What's it for you? Like, what does he do when you like look at it? Because on your website, you mentioned something as like, hey, I'm doing this art, but it's like, what do you see in it? So kind of that question back to you, what do you see in his?
I think the thing that inspires me the most about his is like, he has all these very disparate, different looking pieces of work, but across almost all of them, it's him when you look at it. It's like he's
Right.
created his own visual language, and that to me is like just such a cool prospect. Like Keith Haring's another person who did something similar, who's another big inspiration, I would say. But Basquiat,
Yeah.
he has he just made his own language effectively of like the style of painting, and he does colorful, cool works as well.
Yeah.
And probably also was very commercially successful, which I find inspirational. Like in his own lifetime, it ended up going badly for him because he got super into drugs and sort of combusted. But that also is like something I see as aspirational of like he was able to get his art out to the world.
Yeah, it's good to be a living artist and make money, There's not a lot of them exactly throughout, history. Do you have all-time favorite piece of artwork? Your favorite one, either yours or somebody else's?
Weirdly, the first place my mind went was just this random painting that's in my parents' living room above the fireplace. That I think that has more influence on me than I consciously realize because I've stared at it so much. That would be one. And then of mine, there's two in the background. This one here I'll move my camera a bit. It took like,
oh, cool.
It's covered in words, like every inch of it's covered in writing, and it took like months and months. But I love that because you can, I think on the surface I like the painting, but then you can like get sucked into it, and there's so many different little
does
bits.
It have a theme in there, or is it how is it set up?
Just kind of probably a few themes. There's some sort of it's like a combination of complete nonsense and deep philosophy.
Yeah, I love it. There's there's borderline. Yeah, I mean, there's like, I feel like that's the interest, always a juxtaposition of good artwork where you even think of like Jackson Pollock, was his artwork really super deep and that's why it made lots of money? Or did the CIA back his operation in Eastern Europe to make money and get an infiltrate? And you're like, I don't know, but
if anyone from the CIA is listening, I'm happy for you to.
Yeah. Same. I'm like, hey, you guys need my art somewhere? You just come. Yeah, let me know. Okay, well, cool. Have you used much AI art yet, or to make some stuff or do anything yet?
Not really. I mean, I've played around with like AI image generation and stuff, but I would say I'm very much a novice in that space. Have you?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I have used a bunch of different ones. Midjourney seems to be the best of just the quality, its ability to just, I don't know, take what you're saying, and I've used it pretty soon after it came out, and then the progression to now is just, I mean, holy shit, the power. It's I don't know if you use so I'll pose a question because I have my own thoughts, but I don't feel like, as being a creative person, people have told me, it's like, oh, art, it's gonna take your job, right? I think it can take digital designers' jobs pretty easy because you can just make something, you can riff in that so quickly. But I'm not intimidated by that AI being creative, or like, hey, the AI is going to paint for you. You know, I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I mean, I feel like more the merrier. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm certainly not. I think it's such a uniquely individual thing to any given person that I think cool if AI is making cool art, more cool art in the world, that's
Yeah.
sick. But I think as advanced as it gets, and maybe this is hubris and I'll be proven wrong in like 3 years' time, but as advanced as it gets, I think my unique life experience and perspective in the world that leads to the art that I make, I think is impossible for an AI to emulate because it's so unique to me. I mean, once maybe give it 10 years and they plug in Neuralink in my brain and they'll be able to, but
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I just think that that is the kind of that expression, because I do similar some types of abstract, and
Mhm.
you know, it's like it's this, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, kind of like, but I like it, right? I love doing it, and I think that if you're doing what you love, you know, like as Rick Rubin, I don't know if you like him at
Yeah,
all, but
legend.
said basically, if you're doing what you love, it's an offering to God, and then there's nothing else you should be doing. If you can make it your livelihood, you know, like that's it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, if AI can do that, I guess if it has love and emotions, you know, maybe, but yeah, I don't know. I think that I agree with you 100%. I think that's what makes it special. I mean, I think there's something like Sam Altman, if you're familiar with him, he
Mhm.
mentioned something on a podcast 6 months ago. He was like, a guy was like, "Hey, what are people looking for in the next 5 years or so? Real, authentic human connection." And I'm like, "Yeah, I that makes sense."
Mhm.
And I think that probably is reflected in like artwork as well. It's like, was that AI generated artwork, or did a human paint it? I think people will be like, I think the human painted one could be more valuable, maybe.
Mhm.
So, I mean, even I think you see, like, you know, on most posts, certainly in Instagram, is like, is it AI generated? Click the tab. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know what that does or what they're looking for, but it's in there already.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, the example that came to my mind there is like if you think of like I don't know, like a lamp that's like handmade by a potter spinning it on the wheel and like hand painted. You can get a lamp that's mass produced in a factory and that still
yep,
has value and utility in the world, but it's like the hand painted, handmade one has an extra layer of
right.
something that I think AI is not close to cracking yet.
Yeah, and I think we're potentially in a simulation. You know, that idea is
Mhm.
like obviously incredibly advanced. You know, and but then
Yeah.
what's the difference between what we are and then what they're trying to do with AI? Like, what's
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't know where that cross section is. So, how often do you paint now, and do you think of it as like a muscle to like always kind of practice?
I haven't painted much in the last few weeks, but in general, like probably once or a couple of times a week, I would say I paint, but it kind of
Okay.
goes in, that's on average. I think sometimes I go through bursts of like very active and then other a bit more quiet. In part, I think, yes, a muscle. And like, I think, like, I feel like the art I've made has gotten better over time, but it probably, again, that goes in waves where I'm like, feel like, oh, I'm loving what I'm making at the moment. Then I go through a phase where I'm like, ugh, like, none of this
Yeah.
is. And then I sort of find a new thing and it sort of becomes exciting again. But there's something else, and maybe this is something more in my psychology, but like a muscle to work out, and I wish it didn't, but there's something about working out that feels almost like a chore or like a something that has to be done or that I should be doing. Whereas art, there's
Yeah.
something much more. I almost part of me feels like compelled to do it as well. So
Yes.
it's like,
Okay. Well, I
yeah,
would say that I maybe that's worded better, because I feel similarly. Like I'm always like, you know, I kind of taking a pause here in Bali, but when I was home, it was just
Mhm.
like, we'll do this stuff, and I was like, hey, when I have some kids, like, hey, the kids good, everybody good. All right, I'm gonna go paint now. You know,
Yeah,
don't bother me. But yeah, I feel like that's what much better said of being compelled, because like I love to do that.
yeah.
Interesting. How do you value your artwork or price it? You know, this is a good one because I feel like everybody kind of struggles with that, and to some like degree, where to not let hubris and greed and all of these other things like creep in. How do you look at that?
Arbitrarily is the first word that came to my mind. Like, it's
Yeah.
very much something that's an ongoing journey of figuring out. I think my website is horribly not updated. In fact, I think I still have to double check, but I think I sold a painting that I just don't have anymore. So I need to email this person who's bought a painting. I
That's a
told them,
good thing to
well,
have. Be like, hey, would you like another one?
yeah. Um, I'm embarrassed though at how unup to date my website is. But even on the website as it is, it's like there's paintings that are the same size and the same sort of materials and everything, and one of them will be £30 and one of them will be £1,000 because I've, like, I don't know, one I painted at Glastonbury Festival, I think, so that one's £1,000. It's like there's I like the I think the pricing of art in general is so arbitrary, and it's like
Yeah,
so
yeah,
driven by so many sort of factors outside of the art that I kind of, to me, that's almost a part of my art, is poking fun at that. And like, and
yeah,
but then in a more practical sense, I try to sort of ground myself roughly in what I think would be, what would I pay, or what would I see as reasonable. But I think it's something, it's a journey, I think, because I think the long term ambition is to figure out how to get to the high value art market of being able to sell a painting for £10,000, and I probably wouldn't necessarily find that reasonable, but that's probably the end target.
yeah,
But at the moment, it's more believing in part of me that I can figure out how to get to that point, and so almost seeing now as like the chance to give bargains to the people who I care about, who are discovering me early, so that hopefully
yeah.
someday they can have a painting that they paid £100 for that's worth 10,000 someday.
I feel very similar to you, where like I've given a lot of artwork away. Friends and family have come over,
Hmm.
and it's like it's more like it's the litmus test is like, do they? Ask my wife, is like, do you think they like that, or they like it, or then you'll show them a piece or like one I've made, and then they're just like they light up of like, okay, they like it. I feel like
Yeah,
that spark is like why I do it, and I feel like it's reflected similar in you. Do you feel that way?
definitely. Yeah, yeah. There's nothing better than making something that you think is cool, and then somebody else being like, "Oh yeah, they see
Yeah.
it too."
Yeah, I feel like there's in some times I like, man, I would love to be like a singer because I can't sing and to have, but it's like I feel like it's that same thing where you're up there, you feel that energy of the 100,000 people. Sometimes it's just one, and I'm okay with that. But
Yeah.
it's the same energy, like exchange, even like in that painting, I can just see the corner of it in the back. Now that like you've mentioned that it's basically made up of, all of these words different in different colors, it just does, when people walk up to it, they just perceive it differently. And, when you're back and forth and it's like that perception and that just is like creates this aura. And I've heard, and some people say it's like even healing or just, again, that
Hmm.
spark that,
Yeah.
that's fucking cool.
Yeah.
Something there. So yeah, I love getting that spark. And I feel like that's the side is like, all right, I want to get the spark and up, like make a living by selling art all the time. Like that's how I
Hmm.
do. Although it
Hmm.
seems like it's your job is pretty good too. So it sounds like you can kind of have both at the same time.
Yeah.
I
For
guess your
now.
day job, anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. It's yeah. I mean, a few years ago, I was probably more like, oh, I just want to figure out something that I can do on my own. Now I'm like really enjoying my job as well. So I'm like kind of still maybe, I don't know, 10 or 15 years down the line, I'd love to have enough money that I could just A, just semi retire, but then B, just focus on the painting and kind of never retire from that almost.
So yeah, set that goal, dude. That's kind of like what's that the price? I mean, like I had some ideas for my artwork as well when I was like, if I sell a piece for this much, I'm like, like to like really like put it like basically making a bargain with yourself in the future. And I think that, if it's like some crazy number of like think about it for 17 seconds and you're gonna like attract it to yourself, with
Hmm.
something like that in it. So I don't know, just if you can kind of tell everybody like, what do you do for kind of like what's your day like? So you painter at night, um, kind of director of marketing at Vayner, and so tell us a little about what you do day job.
Yeah, so I work on the media team at VaynerMedia. So it's a marketing agency owned by Gary Vaynerchuk. Um, And so day job is kind of like managing teams across a few different clients. And my team specifically is kind of around media buying. So we work with a creative team in house and a strategy team and stuff. So effectively, that team is more about sort of creating the content that you might see, either like on organic social media from companies or like in a paid ad. But my team is very much about taking that and putting it into the paid advertising space. So anything from like an ad you see on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, all the way to like out of home billboards. It's like we're a sort of planning of this total budget the client has, which channels or which platforms are we going to spend budget on, but then B, for like the digital channels, once something is live, kind of gathering the data across the different creatives on different channels and different placements, and sort of optimizing that plan over time, be it like
Sure.
these things are driving more sales, or this has like a people are clicking on this one more, any of those, whatever the sort of metrics that we're optimizing towards. It's like as the campaign goes on and we gather data, we're sort of optimizing that plan in real time and analyzing what's working and doing more of it, and analyzing what's not working and doing less of it effectively, and sort of scaling the budget into what's working.
Have you found like having that creative side is helpful for different type of job?
I think it gives me a unique perspective, definitely, of like, I think the traditional person in my sort of role is much more data led, and creativity isn't necessarily as much of a natural skill set. So I'm
Sure.
probably somewhat unique in the fact that I kind of straddle both of those lines of being interested and engaged by the creative side and able to nerd out about the data side of things. I think it definitely gives me an advantage, or like helps me when it's like looking at helping clients understand why certain things are working or not, and like generating new ideas off the back of that.
And I would say kind of then tapping on kind of what I hinted at the beginning of, the marketing side, and being a
Mhm,
marketer for yourself as an artist, right? But you're also kind of doing marketing for other people, which I always think is easier.
mhm.
And so if you could just kind of cap off that great, I don't know if you put it up on LinkedIn of that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you got the most hits off of that ever, but I thought that was so great. Of your like the what would you call that? Just you have it.
So at the company VaynerX, which is like the umbrella company, it's
Yep.
turning 15 years old. Well, VaynerMedia is, at least, and they had a contest across the organization where it was like, okay, to celebrate 15 years of the company, we've got 15 different offices. We're going to have a contest. Two people are going to be picked who've been at the company for over 10 years. Gary, the CEO, is going to pick these two people, and they're going to be one team. And then the people going to be on the other team are whoever can get the most views on a LinkedIn video in the space of like 2 weeks or whatever. So I was very excited by the prospect of getting to travel to 8 different cities in 2 weeks. And so I racked my brains for 2 days of like, what could I make? Had like
Yeah.
a running notes on my phone of all these different ideas, like what am I going to make? And if anyone doesn't know who Gary V is, Gary Vaynerchuk, he's the CEO of the company, and he's like got 10 million followers
I,
plus
I've
on.
I reference him as LinkedIn Jesus, typically to friends and other people.
Nice.
Just
Yeah.
so because I've watched his videos for a long time, and it's like,
So,
oh, Ken, and it's as a compliment, to be honest. It's like, really. So sorry,
yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, and as LinkedIn Jesus, he's like in the top 10 most followed people on LinkedIn, I'm pretty sure, globally. So he has like a very solid brand, and so my hook on the video was like the secret truth about working for Gary V. Um, 'cause he's like generally, I mean, is a wonderful person, and like tries to exude positivity and help people in the world as much as he can. But there's definitely probably people who only see him on the surface and have doubts or questions about him. So I was kind of like trying to bait those people, but also trying to bait the people who fully believe in him and make them think, "Oh shit, what's this? Like, is there some sort of dark
Yeah.
secret?" And then did like a build up to make it seem like a legitimate video where I was going to be revealing some sort of dark secret, but that was purely like to drive retention on the video. So
Yeah.
it would like people would watch it for longer, which would help it reach more views, basically. Even to the point where I was like, it's like a 45-second long video, and I spent like 2 hours filming and
Yeah.
refilming, and I at one point I had like the full video done, and the way I was filming it was like directly in TikTok with the green screen feature, and I was like, this one bit early on felt like it was going to lose people, so I like deleted everything, went back, and then re-recorded it and put another break in and put a bit in that was like, he said something at one point in the video. I say something like, he says he cares about empathy, which we'll get back to, but
Yeah.
I never got back to that. I just said that again. That was another hook to just get people to continue watching the video for longer. But then the punchline at the end of the video was the secret. But the truth is, it's even better than I ever thought to work for him.
Yeah.
It's a great company. And whoever gets the most views on a video is going to get to travel the world. And yes, I found out from the main man on a call 2 days ago that I am one of the winners.
Dude, congratulations, bro. That is like well done. You know,
Thank
that's
you.
like, and that's, I
Appreciate it.
think that he does a great job of that blend of like, hey, hard work, right? Like, that's well done. And like, was a good fucking video too. It's like in that's like that creativity, right? Understand the analytics, what gets you, you know, the data, but then, hey, are you also creative too? And so I think that's a good, so a good balance to have. So that's cool. So yeah, when's that happening? When's that going to go?
1st to the 15th of December. So
Okay, nice.
all over the VaynerMedia social media channels, I'll be producing some global content, which should be fun.
Excellent. That sounds awesome. Yeah, congratulations. That was a good one. So how often does it take that kind of depth of thinking and thought and planning and kind of also some desire to make a video like that viral? You know what I mean, or to some degree, or what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's interesting because I guess it made me reflect and think, God, I should really, because I have historically made quite a lot of videos, and that probably also helped the fact that I've built that
Yeah.
muscle over time. But I've kind of fallen off, I would say, in the last year of like really my output has been way down. And I'm
Yeah.
like, God, maybe I should try. I need to figure out how to give myself that sort of level of excitement or focus. Even if I did that once a month and I made a
Right.
video with that much intention, it'd be better. Like that has the potential to drive a lot of impact. So I think given when I had that big motivation in front of me, I pulled out all the stops and spent 2 days thinking about it and was able to like come up with a video that did drive significant reach. So I'm like, I need to probably try deploy that more in my day to day to do a
Sure.
few more
Yeah.
videos like.
Well, kind of switching gears again, I wanted to kind of swing back onto art. How have you looked at art, you know, price tags, but also what about time in on a painting? What's the longest time you've spent on one piece of artwork?
That one behind me with all the words.
Yeah.
I think it was like I don't have a clue in terms of hours spent, but it was like probably quite a few. Like
Yeah.
I don't know,
Well, how
30.
like what's the time period that you started it and finished it?
That's where it's definitely by far the crown, because it's like it was
Yeah.
probably like 8 or 9 months of
Okay. So yeah, just constantly working on it little by little.
getting
Yeah.
away, and a few
Interesting.
points
Yeah.
where I was like, "Is this ever going to end?"
um, but yeah, so it's like that one there, right? I think that's a big one. It's special. It sounds like, you know, you put a lot of effort and like pouring out your soul into it. So how do you price that?
I mean, that one was building towards the thing that sort of made me finish it. I had my first art show in June, and that was like in my
Okay.
mind going to be the centerpiece. Given how much effort and time had gone into it, and like B, I kind of almost didn't want to sell it. I think I put a price at like
Yeah.
9,500 because I was like,
Okay.
I basically thought, how much would I be willing to part ways with it for?
So
And that kind of
that is, yeah, that's the question is like, I love this, you know,
yeah,
same thing. Like I have some art in my house and I was like, I love this. I'm not going to sell this to anybody. I mean, like that,
yeah,
I feel like it feels like a really good position to be in. Because
yeah,
again, also, and I've had people, you know, and I'd like to get your thoughts. Like when people have come in and seen some of my artwork and they're like, before I was doing it, my first piece, and they're just like, they love it. And then I'm like, oh, wow. I'm not going to, I made that one for me. And I
yeah.
assume, is that similar for you? Were you kind of doing that for you?
In a way, I think I was doing it for the show and for people to see,
Hmm.
but I was like, given how much of me has gone into that, it's like it would take a decent size sum of money for me to be willing to part ways with it. But it's interesting.
Yeah.
There's another. I can see it. I can flip my camera around so you can see. It's going to be a weird angle, but that one there, the
Yeah.
red and blue one,
Yeah.
which not good if someone's listening to this on audio, but I just showed a red and blue painting on the other side of my wall. That took me genuinely 45 seconds or something to do. Like I put all the paint
Yeah.
on it and did it with a
Yeah.
palette knife. And I was like, this was when I was very early in painting, and I looked at it and I was like, I need to stop. And I was like annoyed that I was already finished, because I was like, well, that was just, it's over
Yeah.
already. Like, why? What? But I'm so glad I stopped. And that to me is equally. There's a huge amount of value in that. From like that one,
Yeah.
I was another one. I had paintings of that size priced for £40 or something in the show, but that one was like £1,500 because again, I was like, in a weird way,
Yeah.
the fact that it came together so quickly equally has a sort of value
Yeah.
or something to it as well. You know?
No, I agree. And I think that that's the unique, like, that's what I love about art, right? Could take a second there. Oh, have you seen this guy on Instagram? And he does this acrobatic stuff where he'll have a painting and he'll go upside down on a spinning huge. So one of them is an enormous one. It's like 7 feet, 8 feet by 8 feet. He's upside
Yeah,
down and then has two buckets, takes them off and they spin. I don't know if you love that type of art. Do you? I don't know,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm like, oh my God. And it took, there was an incredible amount of prep work. And I like think of that because of my background. I think that preparation, because you think of like luck and skill. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, preparation is tied in there. It's like, dude, there's a lot of prep. And he made the painting in maybe seconds, And then I think he sold it, I don't want to say 50, 60K, something, maybe more.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And then and he's expressed it. And online, you can see he's like, these haters are just like fraud. And I'm like, what? Why would you say that? Like,
Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of funny. I'm like, I want, sell it for as much as you can. I mean, but I think that's the beauty of like, if you have this process down, or it could all kind of not work out, but it
yeah,
worked out. And just he's getting hate because he did a piece of artwork in 10, 20 seconds and sold it for 60K. And it's like, I'm not jealous at all. I'm like, yes,
yeah,
I can do it too,
yeah. 100%.
But that's the thing. It's so fucking wild. That's also why I like this art world too. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that? I don't know if you've seen that guy. I forgot his name, but so it's great.
Yeah, I've seen one or two people like that on like TikTok and Instagram and stuff. I think some of them are epic. I mean, I've seen ones where it doesn't go as well, you know. So I think there is
Yeah.
also there's like you say, there's so much under the hood that people don't see, and like the preparation and the failed attempts and the experimentation and everything. But yeah, I mean, I think if you're getting haters, you've made it. Like,
Yeah.
bring on the haters. It's like those
Exactly.
anyone who's getting angry at somebody for making art and selling it is just like they have something deep in them that's not happy. So that's
Exactly.
their issue
Yeah.
to contend with. But it's like if
Yeah.
someone's
And if you don't have haters, you're not like doing something right. You know what I mean?
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think more power to them. And yeah, exactly. Like I see that, like you said, I see that and get excited and like, oh, look at what's possible rather than like,
Yeah.
oh, they're taking something that I could have.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah. So you're doing is this going to be your first exhibition, or tell kind of, please elaborate on that.
Did that my first exhibition happened in June.
Okay. Okay.
And yeah, that was a resounding success. It was super fun. Really enjoyed
Awesome.
it, and sold a bunch of paintings as well, which I wasn't necessarily. I was kind of going in ready to sell none and just have it be a party and for the world to see the art. So the fact that I sold some as well was an added bonus. Then I've kind of been. I need a new focus now because I kind of since then it's kind of been. I don't know what I'm doing. That it was such a singular focus and something I was working
Yeah.
towards really kept me motivated and active that now then I was like, oh, I'll take a few weeks break and chill. But now it's like, whatever, 5 months
Yeah.
later, and I think it's time to stop chilling. So I need to do my moves.
What gallery was it at?
It was like self run. So I found
Okay.
a pop up space in London
Oh,
and
awesome.
rented it out. And yeah.
Oh, well done. I feel like that's even better. So I feel like you don't have to pay a gallery a commission there.
Yeah. Let's pay
Nice.
the rent on the space. But yeah, no,
Sure.
all the artwork sold was.
Do you have any like kind of aspirations or goals for the next art show or art or that next series?
That's what I'm still trying to figure out. I think
Okay.
I flip flop between different things. I think honestly, I'm starting to think, oh, it would be nice to get with a really good gallery, and if they can sell the paintings for higher price tags, and I have to give them 50%. I don't need all. If I get like that, to me is becoming maybe where I'm like, maybe I need to try explore that, because if it's just, I think like the business side, yes, I like to think it interests me, and like parts of it do, but like the thought of being able to just paint and have someone look after everything else and have an income from just painting. That I'm like, oh, if I could figure that out, that would be life one.
Yeah. Yeah, I agreed. I think that's a great, I love that. I mean, I think everybody's kind of searching for that type of thing too, because if you're do what you love, then it's kind of not working. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's attainable.
Yeah.
So yeah, would your style art change at all? Are you going to kind of go in to do a different route, or do you think you're going to kind of keep in the same line of the art and style that you're doing before?
I think generally I see it staying the same, but sort of evolving on the spectrum it's been evolving on, is like continuing to sort of experiment and follow what kind of sparks joy, or what, what things I like. And so it's like I said, it's all, there's a unifying, somewhat of a unifying style across everything, but I've discovered different styles of painting throughout that journey. So I think it'll probably evolve but retain a level of similarity or something that unifies them all. The one thing that's kind of in my mind that I haven't really experimented with fully yet, but that I bought something for, is I ended up with this. There's this guy Simon Squibb, who's an influencer who goes around asking people what their dream is.
Right.
Who's built up a big following in the last couple of years, and I ended up meeting him at a Vayner event and chatting to him, and ended up in a video with him and a follow-up video. And then he asked me, if he's got a book coming out in January, he asked me if I wanted to paint his book cover on this giant staircase that he owns.
Yeah.
And so I ended up painting this, like, and I said yes, because I was like, I have to say yes to this, such a cool opportunity, but I have no
Yeah.
confidence that I'm able to do it, because I'm like, painting anything literal or figurative is not my bag. I'm like, so can't color within the lines, like just pure abstract. That's why I like abstract.
Yeah.
But said yes and figured out using a projector that I did this like book cover. I mean, it wasn't like overly complicated. It was just like big letters basically. But that
Yeah.
to me was like it was very challenging, and I was able to do it with the projector. So I bought a projector for home since. I haven't experimented with, but like doing the paintings like I'm doing with these abstract stuff, but then potentially projecting more real things on and adding them on top is
Uh,
something that I'm thinking about experimenting with, because I think that could be fun.
yeah. Oh, I love that. I've done some of that too, and it's fun because in similar is like where I'm like I want to just be like just throw it on. I just like watching the colors, and then I'll like superimpose a silhouette on top,
Mm-hmm.
and that I've always like that again. That's my jam, and I don't know if you may sounds like you would enjoy that as well. Where it's like I need a stencil just so it can make it real easy for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that sounds cool. Yeah, and share whenever that happens.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next I would like to kind of hit on if you do you have any failure that you'd like to share life because I think life's made up of failures and successes. So if there's anything like you could share that's been helpful for you, that had some failure and then that you overcame, that'd be interesting for the audience to listen to.
I mean, yeah, I agree. I think failure is definitely the seed of the lessons that unlock all of growth and everything in life. I think I don't know if there's anything like that I would nothing's jumping out. It's like, oh, this was like a big colossal failure. I think in I mentioned before, I was like working on trying to set up this business. I've had 10 things I've tried to set up as a business that have failed and gone nowhere.
Yeah,
So I think but those all probably led to the lessons that
right.
have helped me. And the art by no means is a flourishing business, but like compared to all those other things, I've sold a lot more and it's lasted a lot longer. And so there's the lessons from all those failures have led to
Right.
like to it being at least somewhat successful, and probably
And those
also
are, would you say those other endeavors, are they in the similar like creative realm, or are they kind of just other businesses, things that you kind of, oh, this kind of looks interesting, I'm going to try it?
it was all born from wanting to be rich, watching Gary Vee videos and wanting to hustle and whatever. Everything from like a pub crawl business, like for tourists
Okay.
to take people on
Yeah.
tours that never really we registered a business, but we never really took it anywhere. Like a sock company, that was the one that was the closest other the one that
Okay.
we
Cool.
ran for 6 months and sold quite a few, but then that sort of fell apart as well. So a bit of everything. Yeah. The other thing that came to my mind in terms of like failure is, and it's again not like one big failure, but like lots of mini failures, was like that point around making content on social media. And like
Right.
I still don't think I've fully cracked that nut, but like made
Yeah.
400 videos that none of them got over 500 views before, and then I've had some videos that have had quite big view counts, and I think that's all born from the lessons learned from doing things wrong over and over again. So like
Yeah.
I think I think there's some quote from someone around, I don't know the exact quote, but like the more you fail, the more you win, or you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
all those little losses add up to learnings that unlock the wins.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And I think that was well said. Like there is no success for anybody anywhere without having failure. So,
Mm-hmm.
thank you for sharing that, because I think that that's similar, like especially being an entrepreneur or in an artist where you're just going out and painting, especially I think even in abstract where you're just like, I'm just throwing paint on the canvas, right? And then I'm like, in with no regard for if somebody's like thinking in my mind, like, oh, I hope they like it. I'm like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And like I feel like that's insane, but I'm doing it anyways. So, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, another question for you. So, do you like what would you say is your superpower?
I think relentless positivity, just always regrounding myself in and being able to stay positive. I think based on the perspective of like, I don't know how lucky we are. I think people lose sight of that and can get. And listen, I'm not saying I'm a saint, and I'm not saying I never get caught up in the small things and get annoyed and spend days pissed off about things that I shouldn't be. But I think on the long term window, I'm very good at regrounding myself in like how lucky we are to be alive. I think people just don't like literally. I sometimes think of like, you could get hit by a bus and you could be lying there like dying, breathing your last breath, being like, oh my God, all I want is to stay alive. And
Yeah.
like, we're not, we are alive, and we're getting to do that thing that if you were in that situation, you would wish with every ounce of your being you could do. And I think people sort of lose sight of that and just get too easily pissed off by stupid little things rather than being like, oh my God, I get to be alive
Yeah.
again today. This is so epic.
Yeah. Well, I like that, the relentless positivity. That's a good one to have, because I feel like you make your own luck then, like that positive
Mm.
nature. And that was kind of another one of, I kind of always kind of ask people of like, where do you see, the intersection of luck and skill?
I think it's both of those things are things that come from action. So I think,
Yeah.
and again, I beat myself up over not taking enough action or not pushing things enough or like progressing towards whatever my ideal outcomes are enough. But like the more that you act and the more that you put out in the world and the more that you do things, the more you build your skill because you get experiences, you get those micro failures that you learn from that you can adjust from, and the more you put yourself in a position to experience luck. Like let's just say like I put out that video on LinkedIn and that led us to having this conversation, and then this conversation can go out to the world, and then who knows what will come for either of us because you reached out to me off the back of that, and that so we're both here because of actions that we've taken. Like who
Yeah.
knows then what the future holds from those actions. But like if one of us gets lucky from this conversation, like it's not just luck, it's luck born from the fact that we've been putting ourselves out into the world. And I
Yeah.
think that
Yeah.
equally is what a
Contending.
skill.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well said. So, and that kind of goes to my next question of, do you have a particular kind of philosophical operating system you go by?
I mean, I think part of it is that you just
Yeah.
appreciating how lucky we are to be alive and not taking things too seriously. I think like I said, that painting is a combination of like nonsense and deep philosophy. I'm like somewhere in that I'm like I think nothing is really important and you might as well just have fun and enjoy it because like don't take anything too seriously. But equally part of me is sort of grounded in some sort of deep spirituality and like sense of connection to the universe, which is probably the complete opposite of that. So it's some sort of
Yeah.
balance of
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's
enjoy
a,
it.
yeah, it sounds like a good balance, yin and yang, equanimity,
Mm-hmm.
whatever you have it there. So is there anything else that we kind of missed of that you'd like to share kind of on the art side, anything you have coming up or a question I should have asked?
I'm still trying to figure out what's coming up next. I think depending on when this drops, the first half of December, or if it's after that, it'll be available to go back and watch. But the VaynerX, VaynerMedia social media channels, I'm going to be
Cool.
popping up there for a few weeks of travel content. That should be exciting.
Yeah,
And
that
I'm also on
sounds
my
like a
own
blast.
social channels. My plan is at least in every city to do at least one painting. So I'm going to bring my painting
Awesome.
supplies with me. So that'll
Nice.
be a solo content series as well during that period. And then yeah, I'll reassess and set some goals and plans for the new year, and then come back with a
All right.
vengeance.
Nice. All right. Well, if you want to please share your website and any other details where everybody can find you.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say number one would my suggestion would be follow me on like Instagram, which is art by Aengus, Aengus. Because like I said, the website's that's high on the priority list of things I need to update because it's a bit out of date. But
Yeah.
artbyangus.com is the website as well. And yeah, watch this space. More exciting things to come, I'm sure.
All right. Well, Angus, thank you for your time, man. It's a pleasure chatting with you. And let's do it again in a year or whenever. And whenever you got your next series or show or exhibition, I'll look forward to it. Stay
Yeah,
connected. Thank you for your
100%.
time, brother.
Appreciate it, Blake. Thank you.
Yes, sir.